Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the November 2nd, 2011 regular meeting of the Daytona Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. We're delighted to have you with us this evening, and Ms. Thomas will review the procedures for tonight's meeting.
Good evening. Agendas are available in the front of the room on the table to my right. All of the exhibits pertaining to items on the agenda are posted on the bulletin board here in the chambers. Please feel free to view them at any time during tonight's meeting. You are required to fill out a blue form to speak before the Community Redevelopment Agency. The blue form is next to my assistant. She's holding it up. You must complete the sections that ask for your name, address, topic of concern, agenda item, signature, and date. The form must be completed and placed in the designated box prior to the items coming before the Community Redevelopment Agency. Citizens may speak before the Community Redevelopment Agency during item number 6. All citizens completing a blue form will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. When you approach the lectern, please speak clearly into the microphone and give your full name and address and the item that you're making comments on. The 3-minute clock on the monitor will begin. You will be told when your time has expired. All conversation must take place either at the lectern or on the dais so that everyone can hear the business that's being discussed tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Henry. Here. Commissioner Reynolds. Here. Commissioner Shelley. Here. Commissioner Woods. Here. Commissioner White. Here. Commissioner Gilliland. Here. Mayor Glenn Ritchie.
Here. We'll now have the invocation led by Commissioner Shelley, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Henry. Please rise for the invocation and the pledge.
Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to serve the citizens of Daytona Beach. We ask for your wisdom and guidance in all the decisions that we make this evening. In the name of your Son, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
We will now move on to item 4A. The approval of the October 5th meeting minutes will be added to our December 7th meeting agenda.
Very good. And with that, we'll move on to the agenda approval. If there's any changes, the city manager read them at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have no changes to the agenda.
Okay. Commissioner Gilliland is the motion. Commissioner Henry is the second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. Like sign opposed. That motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item number 6, public comments by people, is Mr. Nicholson is the only speaker.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. I'm not quite sure I can talk about anything because it's not on the agenda, and you don't normally say that on this portion. You usually ask if there's anything regarding the CRA. So can I speak on something that concerns the CRA but not is on the agenda, Mr. Mayor?
Sure, go ahead, John.
All right. In your mailboxes, you should have gotten copies of these. It's my notes that I took to meet with with the city manager. The second one, as you'll see, it lists by street and location all the locations on and near Main Street, literally that face Main Street, that can house automobiles for events. There's over 1,200. If you fudge a little bit, you get 1,480. If you go a little bit further apart, you get almost 5,000 parking spaces off of Main Street within walking distance. That's why I did the first one, which is Rediscover Main Street. And my concept is you can't wait 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, because there are people going out of business right now on Main Street. There's one that went out of business after Bike Week. There's a third one coming down within the month. We have very few. We have 32 businesses that are open. We've lost 3. We're down into the 20s. 1/4 of the businesses are now open rather than 1/2. I'm asking that you consider the concept of eat, drink, and entertain along Main Street. We have 17, or did have 17 locations to eat, drink, and entertain. That's what you have the most of, and I believe that's what you should emphasize. There are over 180 days during the year that people go out to drink. They go out to eat. Valentine's Day, Patrick's Day, you name it, they're going out. They need a place to go. We've never advertised for any of them. The only thing we advertise for is New Year's. And we block the streets. We do very well with that. There's no reason why we can't do it year-round. Churchill Station is closed. Pleasure Island is closed. There's no other destination in Central Florida. Our kids go over to Orlando. They'll go to Disney to go to these events. I'm sure that they would come into our location. You're talking over 1.5 million people. All you need is 1%, and you fill up the street. All of these venues, it takes 50 people to sit in every single seat in the venue except for 2. So you could fill them very readily. I'm asking that you consider it. Secondly, a tourist action statement underneath the pier. We have the rights to the pier and what's under it. There's an area that cannot be accessed by Beach Patrol. I ask that you close it in. Allow the gentleman that did the parasailing and the kayaks and whatnot, use that space. When tourists are here, they want to see something, they want to do something. This is the perfect thing to see that parasail go by, to see the banana boat by, to see people kayaking or windsailing in the ocean. All those activities give them a sense of well-being and of something to watch. So I'm asking you to consider that location. The third thing is volleyball.
Yeah.
Thank you.
6 locations at Harvey Street. Thank you.
That is our only speaker, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Okay, with that, we'll move on.
Moving on to our administrative items. Item 7A, it is the Redevelopment Grant Program Revision Resolution, a resolution approving amendments to the grant programs in redevelopment areas and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Woods is the motion. Commissioner Shelley is the second. Anyone to speak to this?
No, sir, no speakers.
And any questions or comments from the commission?
I just could Reed update us on, because we had questions, concerns, changes, whatever. Can you?
Good evening.
Good evening.
There's a couple items I want to bring to your attention. Number one, there was a funding issue last time we talked about, and we are proposing to put in the same percentage as the other CRAs get based on the revenues that come in. And that would represent, in this case, about 11-12% of the revenue, which equals $25,000 approximately. So we've identified those funds, and we're intending on placing that amount into the Midtown to kick off the grants if you approve the program this evening.
Okay, so they go from 0 to 25,000.
That's correct.
And they can
0 to
be accessed for any of the programs that they qualify for.
That's
within the
correct.
grant. Okay.
Yes. One other item, we omitted one item that Midtown had brought up. It was just brought to my attention recently after we sent out the reports that there was the air conditioning and the roofs, which are being omitted from the programs in your residential commercial
Right.
facade programs. Midtown had asked specifically that those remain in there as eligible items, and if it's something that you want to include back in, this would be a good time to consider that.
So we need to amend what you're proposing to put it back in there tonight.
That, if you would, then
Okay.
that will address their concerns at Midtown.
Well, one was no match, wasn't it?
That's already in here in your current proposal.
How quickly would that eat through the budget there if we included roofs and air conditioning?
Well, if the maximum of 5,000 is in there right now, then that's going to eat through fairly quickly. There is a lien requirement on those over 50%. So if you want to go to 100%, you're going to have a lien in there for the next 5 years to be a homeowner. And we haven't had the experience of necessarily having a lot of homeowners apply. Remember, we're taking out the rental properties. So I would say, we should be in the ballpark. And if we run out of money, that's something we can try to address in the middle of the year.
Yeah, I'm fine with putting it back in since that's, it was there, and let's put it back in. And if we run into a problem with homeowners, residential property owners running out of that, then, like you said, let's revisit it and see what we need to do differently.
Right.
Soft costs, so commercial buildings, Reed, I want to be clear, that any soft costs like design, architectural design, or whatever, go toward the match?
On the eligibility for the commercial buildings, I'm not aware where we have
I think
that design.
Does.
It does in a
It
couple.
doesn't, but
In the landscape art, it does. I know with the landscape programs, it goes in there. I'm not familiar with the detail on the commercial programs, but if somebody's doing rehab and there's a contractor comes in and does the costs and they have some of those soft costs that are associated with it, typically, as part of the project, it could. We'll have to evaluate it on a case-by-case, though.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I did have someone to sign up after we got started, Mrs. Donna Cooper.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Donna Cooper at 427 Ellsworth Street, Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm not speaking on the topic. I'm speaking on a response. I know I'm out of the territory, but it must be heard. It said residents to the leaders you're not listening. Most of the residents are very upset because of the commissioners and the city manager has not been showing up for our public meetings. Jennifer Thomas and Ms. Betty Goodman are not elected officials. However, on September 21st, 2011, they were the only ones at the 5:30 p.m. meeting. Others than I will not be attending 5:30 p.m. public meetings. Why? Because we are not schizophrenic. We're not going to talk to the walls. We're not going to talk to the chairs. We want to talk to the elected officials. So that has been a problem. Mr. Gilliland said that he was not interested in hearing what we like to say. How do you know what our accolades are, our thank yous, our likes and dislikes if he does not give us the privilege to come up here and tell you?
Mr. Mayor, that's completely untrue. I never said that.
No, it isn't. And by the way,
it's not slinging mud.
This was stated.
Not slinging mud.
Listen. It was stated tonight, if you had something on the agenda that you wanted to talk about, if you want to save those comments to the next one.
I still will speak to that, too. I will speak to that also.
Okay, well, speak to the items on the agenda.
These partial grants that you all are offering us, I feel like if we had for the landscape, whatever it is that you all are talking about, if we had the money to fill it if we had $10,000 in order to get $5,000 back, I don't think we would need to come to the city to ask them for a partial grant. Because if I could afford $10,000 to improve my place, I wouldn't come to you to ask you for the money. So I don't think I should have to go out and take out a loan in order to have the money to do what I would like to do in order to get $5,000 back. Thank you.
So that's required, is it?
No, 100%.
Pardon?
100%, I believe.
It's 100%. Right? So there is no match required on you on that money. But it's changed, okay? All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions or comments from the
Do we need to amend? I need to amend my motion to put the roofs and what was the other thing? Air conditioning back in for Midtown.
Okay, and the match was already in.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Reed?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's just putting back those two. So I'm in my motion.
I'll amend my second.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor, aye? Aye. Like sign opposed. Motion carries 7-0. Next.
Moving on to item 7B, it is the Downtown Retail Consultant Expenditure of Funds and Contract Approval Resolution, a resolution approving amendments to the redevelopment plan for the Main Street redevelopment area to incorporate goals, policies, and objectives provided in the E-Zone Master Plan and to clarify and update the plan and providing an effective date.
So second.
Commissioner Gilliland's the motion. Commissioner Shelley is the second. Anyone to speak to this?
Yes, sir. I have one speaker, Mr. John Nicholson.
John, you want to hear what Reed has to say before you speak?
Okay.
All right, Reed. Might answer your question, if you have one.
Good evening again. The contract that you have before you from Mr. Gibbs now has addressed some of the measurables that I think hopefully you're looking for. And the opportunity is here to both have Mr. Gibbs come back to downtown, meet with the retailers, prepare a report to you about what is actually the current status, as well as what is the strategy for how to market the downtown based on the what's really going on in our downtown on the ground, in addition to the market report he's already done for us. He's also going to have an opportunity during that time to meet with a number of businesses, and that will allow him to really get one-on-one with businesses. So that would be one of the first steps, and would be direct help to some of our retailers that are down on B Street now. You can get about 12, 15 of those visits that'll last approximately 30 minutes each. Then the second part of this is that Mr. Gibbs is looking at providing a minimum of 300 contacts for retailers that he'll be talking to over the next 6 months. He will also be meeting with a minimum of 50 of retailers, particularly at these retail shows. He would provide bi-weekly progress reports to us, and he would attend approximately 3 retail shows. That would include the upcoming May 2012 ICSC meeting in Las Vegas, which is the national show, and one place where we would hope that he'd be very productive in bringing people. But he has a lot of relationships now with the retailers, and does this throughout the country. So we're very optimistic that with the changes going on in retail over the next year or so, we're kind of now finally optimistic that we can land a few retailers here. And with that, take any questions.
I have a question. Ms. Thomas, when you were reading, I thought I heard you say something about the E-zone. When you read...
It is a part of the resolution.
And that stood out to me, because when we're looking at what we're talking about here, it was talking strictly, at least in the resolution that we have on our agenda, strictly talks about downtown, and I had never understood that it had moved to the E-zone in what I had read.
Right.
She was on the wrong one.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted to really clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you.
7B is
Oh,
good.
wow. May I read it into the record correctly? A resolution approving a contract with Gibbs Planning Group, Inc. to provide professional retail consulting services for the downtown redevelopment area, authorizing the expenditure of $38,500 from the Downtown Redevelopment Area Trust Fund, and providing an effective date. You're absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Thank you.
Any other questions, Reed? Okay.
And second, I think we already did that, yeah.
Yeah, we've already done that. We have a.
We'd like to do the right one, yeah.
Yeah.
Got the right one.
All right, I'll tell you, I was, just as a side note, when Mr. Gibbs made a presentation to the commission a few months back, I was impressed with his approach. A lot of this stuff isn't pie in the sky waiting to come deal. I mean, if he's going to get in here and actually work with, have the opportunity to work with retail merchants on marketing, merchandising, how to operate their shops in a meaningful way now that would improve business, you know, that's a pretty neat idea. And so as just speaking for myself, I really enjoyed his presentation. So thank you, Reed.
Thank you.
John.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. One, there was a little mix-up here, and that brings something else to mind. What we see in our packets are not what you see in yours. So we would have no idea what she was reading was correct or not, because it doesn't match the text that we get. So oftentimes you see things that we don't see, you have information that we don't see at all. Regarding this particular item, it appears to me that we're being a little bit myopic. We do have other parts of the city, and it's a shame that I went to all three of his presentations. I think it's what we've needed for a long time. I think we need to target what will fit where. But unfortunately, when you put it in one location, the other locations may suffer. We do have other locations that are main streets as well. We have Main Street. We have Seabreeze, which is a main street. We have 2nd Avenue, which is a main street. Martin Luther King, which is a main street. We have other locations that could benefit from this. And I understand downtown paid for it, downtown came up for it, but why can't the rest of the city benefit from it? We're doing an E-zone. Sorry about that. This fits in perfectly with the E-zone. If he can come up with something, what happens when he puts something downtown that would be a better fit off the E-zone? Nobody's going to open up two shops a block from each other. They're going to compete. Starbucks did it for a while, one at Bel Air Plaza, one at the Ocean Walk, but most shops won't do that. They need a certain diameter, a certain number of people, and then they come in. So I'm asking you to consider spending funds and looking at this in a holistic manner, that we look at what's good for Seabreeze, because it's dying, folks. Look what would go on Main Street that'll help the E-zone. Look at 2nd Avenue. There are an awful lot of empty shops on 2nd Avenue. So when we spend this money, spend a little bit more and get a comprehensive plan for all of the city. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye. Aye, like sign, opposed. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Moving on to item number 8, comments and inquiries from the Community Redevelopment Agency, City Manager, and the City Attorney's report.
Questions, comments, thoughts? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. We will take a 5-minute break and convene the